What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to an interview with the senator of Vermont, basically talking about how much Vermont, in particular, has been hit really hard by the Canadian travel boycott. And I think, many other northern states have been sort of disproportionately affected by that as well. And, just something interesting to note here, the senator actually had to go on a Canadian news network to talk about this because, I believe that here in the United States, we don't really want to admit what a disaster this whole conflict with Canada has been for us. So you don't really see this kind of stuff featured much here on our national news networks. So, just something I noticed. So, today, I'm really interested to check this out and learn about how bad this whole situation between Canada and the US that we started is getting for some of the states. So let's take a look.
But while Trump's tariffs aim to harm Canada's economy, they're also hurting U.S. states who rely on Canadians. StatCan
Yes.
is reporting Canadians spent $3.5 billion less on travel to the United States in 2025.
That's the most guttural, sort of disgusting, I apologize, but visceral reaction I can muster to that. 3.3 billion less dollars on US travel from Canadians that would typically travel here to the US. We've lost that much. That is like an entire major company just like vanishing into thin air. Like the effects of something like this, I don't know if we're truly even going to understand the ramifications of this boycott, which again, I understand, like, even as an American, no matter how bad this boycott has been for the United States, it's something we have essentially brought unto ourselves because it's a extremely reasonable reaction, frankly, from Canadians based on a lot of the stuff we have done. So I get it, but holy cow, this is bad. Like, most Americans have no idea how bad this has gotten for us. Except I would imagine, like, is this just Vermont or is this the whole US?
$3.5 billion on Canadians. StatCan is reporting Canadians spent $3.5 billion less on travel to the United States in 2025.
That's total. Okay. I was gonna lose it if that was just Vermont. Because 3.3 billion is already insane.
Compared to the year before. And Canadians also made 7.1 million fewer trips across the border last year.
Yeah, so like I was also saying, this disproportionately really affects northern states, which I think would see a lot of this travel and a lot of this tourism money, because, it's just, you can't fight geography. This is the part of the US that is literally closest to Canada.
U.S. states are feeling the pinch of losing Canadian tourists, including Vermont, who says its tourism has decreased by 40%.
I'm not in Vermont. I think I went through there when I was like 4 or something. Anyway, I don't remember. But you better believe Vermonter Vermontans? Vermonters? Vermontites? People from Vermont are feeling this pain and very, very aware of this. If you're losing 40% of your tourism.
Peter Welch is a Democratic senator for Vermont. Sir, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. We mentioned there that 40% drop off in tourism to Vermont. How much of that is directly tied to Canadians not traveling to your state?
Basically 100%. I mean, that's what our main tourism is the Canadians. And
I just got to say, like, talk about something that Donald Trump, in all his in all his wisdom, talk about something he never, he did not factor in to his calculations, which probably took like -3 seconds to decide our entire anti-Canada trade policy, the tariffs, whatever got into his mind to start this whole situation. Um, he never once considered how much we depend on Canada for so many things. A lot of things that I've actually myself didn't know. And then again, I'm not the president of the United States. But even I know at this point, just by watching a couple of these things, oh my God, we depend on Canada for a lot of stuff, a lot of energy, a lot of resources, a lot of travel and tourism, which is a big industry. It's a lot of jobs, it's a lot of money. This stuff matters. This affects real people, real Canadian citizens, real American citizens. I only emphasize that because this is an American policy that is actively hurting our own people, driving Canadians to not want to come here, screwing over places like Vermont. It's just, yeah, you can probably tell. Like, I get a little worked up. You can't overstate how much of a disaster this is.
it's two things. One, obviously, an enormous economic hit to us on tourism, but we also you're our biggest trading partner by far. That's true for 34 states in the US, but we export $600 million to Canada, 2 billion come in from Canada, and that helps us in our own manufacturing. But there's another part of this that's really heartbreaking for us in Vermont. It's the emotional rupture. We have
Sure.
many of our bed and breakfast, our ski areas. They look forward to Canadian families coming back, and many of them would always come on a certain holiday. And there is a lot of joy
Yeah.
that the hospitality industry has in having ongoing relationships with Canadian visitors.
Yeah, like, that's a good point. That's something that I certainly don't think about. Like, I'm in Indiana. I don't know if I've ever once seen a Canadian walking around. I wouldn't know. I don't know if they'd stick out if you're like wearing some kind of giant like winter jacket in the middle of the summer. I guess I'd spot you, but like we don't get like random Canadians. We don't even get many people in general, Americans, let alone Canadians, coming to like somewhere like Indiana or around this part of the US. It's not a big tourism zone like some of the northern states are for Canadians. I think he said for skiing, bed and breakfast, or if you're going to like Florida or frickin' New York or California. I get it. I get it. So this is something I can't really relate to, but makes so much sense for me. I can empathize with this idea. Like Vermont is sad. Um, it sounds like Vermont is a Democratic majority state, so I'm sure they like vehemently disagree with what Donald Trump is doing, and as most Americans should at this point. But not enough do, frankly. But it sounds like Vermont does just from a philosophical standpoint and also from like a pain standpoint. They're really feeling the pain and you really sort of feel for this guy. And it's all kind of strange because he's on a Canadian news network, because the American news won't feature stuff like this because it doesn't think it's important enough or something, or maybe the shadow government is like, you cannot talk negatively about our policies with Canada, or the guys in black suits will come and make you disappear, or I don't I don't know. Maybe they're coming for me. I don't know. But yeah, the fact that he has to go on like a Canadian news network to talk about his state's woes from the Canadian boycott, which is caused by the United States. And it's a strange situation. It almost sounds like he's desperate, like to say, God, they're sorry, like they want Canadians back, they don't know what to do, and it's really hurting them. And I'm sure Canadians don't want to hurt Americans who are like this, but at the same time, a boycott is a boycott. The intention is to cause pain, to deliver a message, and you can't really target one state or another. I get how that works. So it's just, what an unfortunate situation.
We get it why you're not coming, but we we want you to know we miss you, and we're really upset at what the president's doing to make the in wonderful relationship we've had over the decades.
There you
It's
go.
impaired.
You know, I used to live in Quebec, so I'd ski at Jay Peak. I've spent a lot of time in your state, and I wonder, when you look at the damage that's been done with the rhetoric, with the threats, with the tariffs, how quickly do you think, let's say a deal is done and trade peace is arrived at, how confident are you that Canadian tourism will resume as it was before all of it?
I'm really interested to hear this answer. This is the American viewpoint, which is interesting. Like, what does the American senator think? Like, will Canadians return if the US and Canada strike a deal? I have no, like, does it matter what Americans think? Because we're not the ones who have been wronged. We're the ones doing the bad thing. We've broken your trust. We're begging for forgiveness. So it's really almost odd to ask us, like, do you think Canada will forgive you and come back? It's like, I don't know. That's really up to Canadians. That's really only something Canadians can answer. Um, but I guess I'm interested to hear what this American senator has to say. He's probably going to say, I hope to God there's a deal and Canadians can quickly forgive. Or personally, I don't think that's what will happen. I think so much damage has been done. It's beyond just like some trade deal at this point. Like, that's not even what Canadians are upset about. It's like a moral, ethical, like personal vendetta. Like, I would, with all this, with all that's been done, and especially against Donald Trump, it'd probably take Donald Trump getting out of office for tensions to really recover. That's what I would think. But again, I'm not Canadian, so I don't know.
It'll take a while because, frankly, I don't think Canadians trust that President Trump has a lot of respect for Canada, and understandably so.
Yeah.
So we might get a trade deal, but where there's been this emotional rupture, that takes a lot of time to heal. And now we're going to have a new president at some point, and I think whoever that is, Republican or Democrat, will go back to the wonderful supportive ways that we've been. But your prime minister did use the right word. It's a rupture. What has happened now is that it's not just an insult directed towards Canada by the president. There's been a real disruption in the relationships, and people have had to make adjustments. So it'll take some time. But what I can say,
I like this. I love this answer. It has a lot of overlap with how I feel about it. I think this is the correct stance. And I think it's a good one for Americans to be honest about this, you know? There's no point in dancing around the elephant in the room. Like, we should the pathway to recovery and building trust is for us to be honest about what we've done, what's going on, that Canada is being wronged, and that it will take time to, like any relationship, to rebuild that trust. So I absolutely agree with all that. Yeah.
With 100% certainty is that all of us in Vermont, including Governor Scott, we want to have restored as quickly and as warmly as possible our very close business and economic and emotional connection to Canadians.
Right. I mean, that's important to remember to throw in there too. Um, to rebuild this, that we don't just want Canadians for your money. No, I mean that's not it's emotional. We want to become good enough friends again that we can make fun of you for Canadian stereotypes and igloos and polar bears and syrup. We want that too. So it's not just because we want all of your wonderful money. Although that is clearly a big part of it.
I don't know if you know this, but you went slightly viral in Canada for your exchange with Jameson Greer about the work his department has done and the rhetoric his boss has made toward Canada. When you talk to the trade representative or when you talk to members of the administration about the damage you see being done to American workers, American businesses, American communities, what do they say to you?
Wow, I didn't know that. I really wasn't aware at all of this senator from Vermont. It's nice to see someone in the U.S. government actually like having a big voice, being speaking up about all this. Like that's great.
Basically they don't even throw their hands up. I mean, the reality here, and you know it, is that the president is going to do what he's going to do, and he's going to say what he's going to say, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. Greer is the trade representative, and if it were left to his devices, we'd be having negotiations, and they might be difficult, but they wouldn't be insulting. So the president is not within the control of anybody that works for him. He controls them, and they're pretty intimidated by him. That's the reality. So, some of my colleagues, including Kevin Kramer is a good example. He's on the northern border. He's very close to Trump, but he really would say all the things about Canada that I just said. So I know people like him encourage the president to be cordial. But
Wow. This is really interesting insight into the American government, particularly like what our government talks about with Trump and his advisors and the whole Canada US thing cuz I have not heard much insight into that at all. I don't know if it's comforting on some level that there are reasonable people in the American government trying to speak reason to Trump, particularly about the Canada situation. But it's that also in a different way makes it even more disturbing that Trump has done all of these things against Canada that he has done despite like he has a lot of yes men that will just do whatever he says, but there's also a lot of people in the government trying to say like Trump, stop, like listen to reason. Like why are you doing this to our ally? And Trump still does what he does. So in another way, it's like disturbing.
Trump is Trump, and he's kind of an equal opportunity insulter of people and country.
Even if they get some kind of a deal to get trade peace, there are real questions about whether the Trump administration will abide by such a deal or will just continue to make demands even after it. What's your advice to the Canadian delegation in Washington this week trying to reach some kind of a deal?
Absolutely. You can't blame anyone, especially Canadians, for having this, kind of fear, this reprehension about doing a deal with Donald Trump. I would feel this way if I had to make a deal with him. Will he honor the deal? And The fact that that's now a question in Canada's mind, probably a lot of our allies, particularly Canada, I would say, because we have gone back on so many on our word about um, the Gordie Howe International Bridge. We went back on our word. The tariffs on Canada went violated our trade agreement with Kuzma. We have this is it's a good question because it's just something that is so unfortunately true. How can Canada trust the US when our leader is Donald Trump? That's like at its most basic level, one of the biggest problems right now. That getting a real answer to that question, because there is no good answer from the American point of view. If you're rational, it's like you can't trust a country led by Donald Trump. That's the unfortunate answer. You can't. So there is no good answer.
I think we should be full speed ahead doing everything we can in good faith. But I do think that it's a fair concern as to whether anything that we agree to is something that Trump will honor. I mean, that is
Yeah.
his MO, is that
Yeah. Yeah.
makes demands, reaches an agreement, and then finds a way to say it's not working out. I mean, we're seeing that in very tragic ways in what's going on in Iran with that war. So, Trump is volatile, and we all know that. But I think all of us have to do the best we can in good faith with our counterparts. And then we're going to have to adjust to whatever it is the president may do.
It's a horrible situation. I mean, let's be totally honest. The US, the American people, put ourselves in this situation. We elected Donald Trump of our own free will to become president of the United States again. A lot of Americans, not expecting this, not necessarily expecting all the stuff that's happened between Canada and the US. That probably came as a major surprise, even to Americans who voted for Donald Trump. The hostility towards Canada and the tariffs, that's all been a surprise, I would think, and hopefully something that many of them now have come to resent or disagree with. I don't know. That requires a level of like understanding the situation that I'm not sure a lot of Americans have. I'm just trying to say we've done this to ourselves and it's a horrible situation with no good answer. And I think that's the senator is basically saying that.
If we get a legally enforceable agreement, I think that's a really good thing.
I think a lot of us are glad to hear it. U.S. Senator Peter Welch, thank you for this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, wow. That was really insightful. I am really glad I took a look at this. It's also kind of therapeutic to hear a fellow American with a voice talk about this in a very, very reasonable way. That is what I needed. Restored a little faith in humanity for me. in While our country is like kind of plunging into chaos, like this was nice to hear. Although not nice when you follow the eventual logic to the end to be like, there's no real solution to this situation except Donald Trump not being president, which will take, over 2 years. That's a harsh reality. So I am glad I took a look at this. This was very insightful. Gave me an insight into what the American government is thinking, or some of us who there's a little hope there, but also not a lot of hope in some aspects. But I definitely got something out of this, but it's confusing times and not as bright and hopeful as you'd like to say. But this was interesting. Anyway, I'm going to think about this one for a while. If you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like and leave a comment with your thoughts about all this and what you took away from this. That'd be really cool to hear about, especially if you're Canadian. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canadian things, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.